All right, TUD 2-year candidates. They are David Evans, Jerry Morrow, Ron Koff, Michael Cummings, Daryl Kettner, and two of them are somewhere to be found. So we are going to go to opening statements by Jerry Morrow, and we'll go for the... So Jerry, you need to go for your opening statement. We're live on the air, and
Right now?
yes.
Good evening. It's really a pleasure being here. I'm a 27-year living in Tuolumne County and love it. I have 3 grandchildren. I have a wife named Barbara, and I also have 3 great-grandchildren. I've always served my community and I lived in throughout the years. Presently, I'm serving on the Tuolumne County Planning Commission. I've been on that Planning Commission now for, in February, it'll be 14 years. And I'm already making decisions for the last 14 years for the voters out there and also for the residents. I have served as a commissioner as chairman in 2003 and 2012 on the Planning Commission. I also spent 3 years on the Tuolumne County Supervisors Planning Committee and was appointed to the Blue Ribbon Growth Committee and alternate landfill sites. I'm currently serving on the Tuolumne County Historic Preservation Commission, and I was president of the California County Planning Commission Association, which represent all 58 counties in California. The association deals with planning, water issues affecting California. I was elected by my peers as Planning Commissioner of the Year in 2012. I was elected to the Sierra Village Water Board as a director in 1997. The board dealt with numerous water issues affecting customers and issues at that particular time. I was also a trustee on the County Board of Education, and my time is up. My goodness sakes.
Thank you, Jerry Morrow. Jerry is running for the 2-year seat, retired sales. With that, I'm going to switch back over to Michael Cummings, general contractor, for your opening statement, please.
Okay, yeah, I'm Michael Cummings. I've running for the 2-year TUD Board of Directors. I'm kind of the new guy on the block, so I can't speak of having a lot of experience with the with water departments, but I have a lot of experience with engineering and with general contractor business. I grew up actually in California. I was born in Santa Rosa, California. Grew up near Susanville on Cattle Ranch. There I learned ranching as a young person, and then later forestry as in my college years during summer work. Went to California State Polytechnic College in San Luis Obispo and got my mechanical engineering degree, and then for several years, mainly in the Bay Area, I did mechanical engineering for large companies as well as small companies. I've served on boards of other private entities, and I have, when I moved to Sonora over 20 years ago now, I've been a general contractor, mainly in the design and development and building of private properties. I'm an investor, and I want to take this opportunity to share some of my experiences and my thoughts and see how much more we can make the TUD board run more efficient.
Thank you, Michael Cummings. Now switching over to David Evans, retired businessman. David, your opening statement, please.
Let me first say a thank you to the Chamber of Commerce for having this forum. Yes, I am David Evans. I am running for the 2-year TUD board seat. I'm a retired businessman. My wife and I have lived in Sonora close to 20 years. As a graduate of the University of Maryland, I have a Bachelor's of Science degree, and yes, we are TUD customers. Let me first say that I support our local businesses. There are hard times for many local businesses, and I encourage everyone to buy local whenever possible. Please remember, by supporting local businesses, you support jobs. The TUD water storage situation deserves comment. I think a lack of adequate supply and subsequent water restrictions do have a business impact. Any business where water is a major cost factor or has tourist concerns knows this impact. Water storage is now a business concern. I look at water storage as having two timelines. The first timeline I call Plan A. This plan involves raising of Lions Dam. This, I think, is a long-term effort that I understand to be 5 to 10 years. Then there is the cost I understand to be $70 million and counting. Finally, there's environmental concerns, and I continue to support the idea of raising Lions Dam. However, funding is a real issue. Please, perhaps a countywide bond issue may be possible, lacking support for Lions Dam.
Thank you, David Evans. And just for everybody's information, we are running a little bit ahead, so if you can let the four-year candidates know that, and if anybody sees Daryl Kettner, we'd love to have him take part in this. So with that, I'm going to switch gears to Ron Koff, Tuolumne County Business Council Executive Director, and Ron's opening statement.
Yes, thank you. My name is Ron Kopf, and I'm running for the two-year seat on the TUD board. I'd like to thank the chamber as well and everyone attending and people listening tonight. Water is an extremely important issue right now. I've been fortunate to live in Sonora for 13 years. I'm a graduate of Ohio State University with a background and degree in land planning and landscape architecture. I have more than 30 years' experience working with local stakeholders, government agencies, consultants, community leaders, and the business community to identify, resolve planning and entitlement issues with viable working solutions. As the Executive Director of the Tuolumne County Business Council since March 2011, I've worked with local businesses and our elected officials to facilitate a positive business climate and family wage jobs to enable more of our young families to stay in Tuolumne County. This is my first time running for an elected office, but I have currently, I have worked on a number of nonprofit boards, and I've been appointed to a number of positions. I currently serve on the TUD board for the Public Advisory Committee, the County Planning Committee, the Sonora BIA Board, the Visitors Bureau Board, and the City of Sonora representative on the Airport Land Use Commission. My key issues with TUD that I think we need to work on are we need to develop an adequate and sustainable water supply, viable water solutions that require the county and all water districts to collaborate. We need a long-term plan to diversify our water supply and storage and distribution, and we need adequate planning to pursue infrastructure funding options for the benefit of TUD ratepayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron Koff. All right. The next is a question by B.J. Hansen to Michael Cummings.
Thank you. Mr. Cummings, are you for the idea of investing money to improve the infrastructure of the district, even if it means raising rates?
Yes, but I'm more in favor in tapping into investment funds rather than raise rates so much. I do realize that we have an inflation situation on our hands, and rates do have to go up to keep up with inflation. I mean, every year we heard from the assessors, and they raise my rates on my home every 2% every year, and PG&E, they raise their rates on my utility bill, so we have to realize that there's going to be some rates on water as well, just because the dollar loses value, and therefore inflation is on our hands. But I do believe that if we tap into some reserves with investors by setting up investment plans through mainly utility bonds and some annuity plans, we can finance a lot of improvements in our system.
Mr. Morrow, would you like the question again?
No, I got it.
Okay.
I agree. You know, our infrastructure that we have for the TUD Utilities District is really, they just put a Band-Aid in it most of the time. And I really feel strongly that the money out there is so tight right now that we have to do something. We don't even have a water plan today, a 20 or 30-year water plan, but our infrastructure is in bad shape. 61% of our tanks are below standard. That needs really to be, we spend about $167,000 a year to clean tanks, scrub them, get them in shape, but they're deteriorating. Our ditch system is falling apart. We have so many leaks, and somebody had mentioned about sandblasting or gunite, our leaks in our ditches. That needs to be done. But right now, where are we going to get the money? And we may float bonds possibly. That's might be an alternative that we might go with.
And David Evans.
Yeah, yes. Well, I recognize the impact of large-scale water increases on business. Therefore, I'm not in favor of large-scale water increases. However, in order to keep things like the water fund solvent or at least stabilized, I think some water increases are going to be necessary. Likewise, I support the idea that somehow we have to get money by either bond or some other, maybe perhaps by the state or some sort of major grant to do infrastructure repair, to upgrade our system. So that is my thoughts.
Thank you.
And Ron Kopp?
Thank you. Yeah, TUD needs to run as a business, and water is their commodity to sell. And we have to be very careful when we're in drought situations and others of how we manage that water, because the more we cut back, the more revenue we impact, which impacts TUD's ability to operate. But some reasonable and prudent increases may be necessary over time. What's happened with TUD in the past is they haven't done adequate increases, and they've just kept it flat, and then all of a sudden you run out of money and you need to do a large increase. So if you can't do some small increases, that impacts you. However, you need to make sure that you do it very carefully. But I think before you do that, we need to look at adequate studies to make sure that we're prepared to take advantage of grants and low-interest loans and a number of programs that are out there to fund. And you have the drought funding right now, you have the IRWIP, which is the Integrated Regional Water Management Plan, and you have the State Water Bond, which are all funding sources that we should be going after and looking at.
Okay, as soon as the timer is ready, Margaret Davis will ask the next question of Jerry Morrow. Ready.
All right, Jerry, water and sewer are critical components of a community's infrastructure. In order to attract new business and industry and to help create a vibrant economy, TUD must provide sufficient capacity to accommodate future demand. Do you agree or disagree with that statement? If you agree, should it be adopted as board policy?
You know, I really believe we've got so many problems with the TUD, the district, in doing our infrastructure, and I forgot the question again. Please say it again.
Water and sewer are critical components of the community's infrastructure. In order to attract new business and industry and to help create a vibrant economy, TUD must provide sufficient capacity to accommodate future demand. Do you agree or disagree with that statement? If you agree, should it be adopted as board policy?
You know, I don't. The reason is because I feel very strongly about the water issues that we have today, about our infrastructure and about what we're going to do for the water and where we're going to get it. I'd pass on that. I don't know the answer.
Okay.
Okay, as soon as the timer is ready, Margaret, to David Evans.
Do you want the question again?
Yes, please, if you don't mind.
Water and sewer are critical components of the community's infrastructure. In order to attract new business and industry and to help create a vibrant economy, TUD must provide sufficient capacity to accommodate future demand. Do you agree or disagree with that statement? If you agree, should it be adopted as board policy?
In the long term, yes, I agree with that statement. But in the short term, I feel from many people I've spoken to
Thank you,
that
David.
the finances of TUD first have to be stabilized. There's a lot of borrowing from the sewer fund to the water fund. There's chasing of monies at the end of the year to balance the budget from interest and various other accounts. So I think in the short term, we need to stabilize the finances of TUD, and in the long term, do what you said in that question.
Okay.
As soon as the timer is ready, Margaret to Ron Koff.
Do you need the question again?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
From a sewer infrastructure standpoint, from a plant capacity, we do have adequate capacity. It's not the plant itself, it's the distribution lines that get there. And so we have to look at those on an individual project basis. From a water supply standpoint, I don't believe it's just the TUD and the ratepayers' responsibility to look at long-term supply and adequate supply. It's a countywide responsibility to look at that, because if we don't have adequate water supply and you go into moratoriums, that impacts our whole economy and our quality of life. So it's a responsibility we all need to share and look at.
Okay, thank you.
And as soon as the timer is ready, Margaret to Michael Cummings.
You need the question again?
No.
Okay.
Yes, we need, I believe, we need growth, and we need to create a better work job environment for our community. But I'm one who believes that instead of compacting everything in such a small area, we need to spread out. And we need to have it set up so that we have more use of septic systems and wells that will provide our needs, either in industry, industrial buildings as well as private buildings. And by doing this, it takes the load off of TUD for these services. And it also provides the ability that having more wells available so that when there is a shortage of water, there can be a way to tap into those wells by having people sell basically water from their well into the TUD system, provide other demands.
All right, as soon as the timer is ready, Craig Cassidy will be asking, is it Ron
Dave.
Cost?
Dave, right?
David, yeah, thank you. Okay.
All right, we're good. All right, this Dave Evans. Let's see, TUD has been criticized in the past for what some see as excessive pay and benefits for its employees and for an outsized engineering and construction department. Do you agree with these critics, and what would you change, if anything?
Well, I'm not sure that there's excessive pay. I don't know what other water districts are paying their employees. So I think if we need to have a study as to compare TUD's current salary and benefits with other water districts, I think that's in order. But I would say at the moment, I'm not aware that there's excessive pay and benefits. However, I do think that perhaps we might think about doing some outside hiring of people to do certain tasks. That may be a way to cut cost. And there's a lot of other things that one could investigate to see where we can save on salary and benefits. But I think first we've got to figure out, most importantly, is the current salary and benefits out of line with what is happening at other water districts. And the reason I say this is you have to have qualified people to do the installation and service of these things, of the system itself. So I think you have to have, pay people for their qualifications. Thank you.
And as soon as the timer is ready, Craig Cassidy to Ron Koff.
Ron, did you need to?
Could you repeat it again?
TD has been criticized in the past for what some see as excessive pay and benefits for its employees and for an outsized engineering and construction staff. Do you agree with these critics, and what would you change, if anything?
Well, I know in looking at the TUD salary and benefit package, when you compare it to other rural water districts, they're pretty much right in the middle. And you're correct in that we do need, qualified people to go out there and do these jobs. TUD has just signed a new employee contract with the employees, with the union people for 3 years. So that's something that, is now in place for the next 3 years. But we have to keep, looking at it. They have scaled back some of the benefits and what's happening with the health insurance, and some of those things were excessive in the past. What you also have to look at is with their construction department, if you're just going to go out and bid for some of the small water line breaks and things like that, you're not going to get a contractor that's going to be able to do that, on a moment's notice. So you do need to keep some of those facilities in place. For some of the larger projects, we may have to look at how efficient we are in doing that as TUD compared to contractors to see what makes the most sense.
Okay.
And as soon as the timer, Craig Cassidy, Union Democrat, to Michael Cummings.
I'm ready?
Okay. Michael, do you need me to repeat the question?
No, I think I've got it there.
Alrighty.
Basically, what I believe that, yes, we need in-house professional people, but I think that what needs to be compared is the cost in-house compared to bidding it out to private industry needs to be looked at. If we find that we have a department in-house that can be bid out, and well-serviced by an outside group, then we should look at that. If we can beat the cost that way, then go outside. We still need to have a overseer inside, though, to make sure that things are adhered to properly. But I think a lot of the problems we have, I noticed listening online to the last TUD board meeting, there's like a $6 million deficit in the retirement plan, and it's fortunately going to $8 million. I think there's something needs to be done there.
Okay. Good. Craig to
And
Jerry
then
Morrow.
Jerry, do I need to repeat the question?
No. You know, the union is negotiated, they have the union that they bargain with, and I'm not, as far as going on to their pay raise or their pay fees that they've gotten in the past, I don't have a problem with that if I'm elected. But we do have a great amount of consultant fees that we pay out. I think that some of these could be done in-house, and I've noticed that the amount of money that they pay for consultant fees is quite a bit. So I would think that as far as the union goes and their wages, I'm pretty happy with that if I'm elected.
Okay. Margaret?
One more.
One more.
So who do we start with, Ron?
I think it's wrong.
I think it's my turn.
Water conservation is a major issue in Tuolumne County. What is your opinion of the property owner being required to pay the renter's water bill rather than the renter, who is ultimately the only one who can control their own water usage?
I'm not in favor of having the renter pay the landlord pay the water bill. I'm in favor of having the renter pay it. It works for power, it works for other utilities, it should work for TUD to do that as well. It's my understanding in talking to TUD that that was something that was offered up by their accounting department. After they looked at it, they actually found out to implement that was going to cost more money. So they have scaled back and they're not looking to do that right now. But when you have the landlord pay it and the renter doesn't pay it, you know, TUD can turn off the water, the landlord can't turn off the water. So it just makes it a very untenable situation. I'm not for it.
You want the
Margaret,
question
when
repeated?
the timer is ready,
Oh.
Margaret to Michael Cummings.
Michael.
We're ready.
Do you want the question again, or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Water conservation is a major issue in Tuolumne County. What is your opinion of the property owner being required to pay the renter's water bill rather than the renter, who is ultimately the only one who can control their own water usage?
Well, I'm mostly in favor that the person using the water pays the bill. That way you have the control of if the person uses too much water, he's got to pay for it. Now, I have apartment rentals in the Bay Area that I bought when I was over there, and of course, having a complex, I have to pay the water for the tenants in a multi-unit building. But if I find that they're abusing the water usage, I just say, well, the water usage is going up, the rent's going to go up if you keep doing this. So in that way, I have some control. But I would think that a tenant renting a house or a business renting a unit in an industrial building should pay the water, and therefore, they are the ones who are going to have to be responsible for their water usage.
Okay, when the timer's ready, Margaret Davis to Jerry Morrow.
And
You need the question? Okay.
in Pleasanton, when I lived there, I had quite a few rentals, and I always had the rentals pay the water bill. I really would never pay the water bill, and I think it's kind of unfair if the fellow that owns property that has to pay a water bill, I think the tenant should pay it.
Okay.
On the timer?
David?
Yes, I almost concur with everyone else. Let me give you a little analogy. I have, of course, PG&E. And when the bill comes, I don't ask my neighbor, I don't ask the fellow down the street, I don't ask the landlord to pay it, I pay it. So I think the same should be applied to water use. And that way, the person using the water can determine how much they're using. Either they conserve, or they spend, or they use water up to whatever budget they have. So that's my position.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I have one question, and I believe this is for you, Ron, if I read it correctly. As owner of RDK Development, assisting developers in moving projects forward, which includes an adequate water supply, do you see any conflict of interest being on TUD board?
No, I don't. When you're dealing with a residential development or a commercial development or something like that, you have to look and analyze the TUD system. You got to work with TUD to make sure there's adequate supply. You've got to look at where the infrastructure is and how that ties together, and that's what I've been doing for years. That's why I have a lot of understanding of how the TUD system operates. I think it's incumbent upon new projects coming on board, which typically tend to be more water efficient, to do everything they can to stay water efficient and make sense. When you start having more mixed-use projects that are a little bit smaller lots, more efficient use of the land, they tend to also tie in with the water and sewer that TUD is providing, rather than having these large lots that are sprawled all over the place that tend to go on well and septic. So in the fact that I work with that and I understand that situation, I see that that works very well. We've had a number of other directors on the TUD board in the past that have been ag users and others, and they all tie in this community to different ways, and you just have to look at the issues, and if there becomes a conflict, you recuse yourself, but that shouldn't come up very often.
Thank you. All right, as soon as the timers are ready, we'll start with closing statements, 2 minutes. And we'll start with Michael Cummings. And we're ready.
Well, thank you for this opportunity to come out and hear what we have to offer and being candidates for the TUD board. I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this time together. My theme is, my campaign is conservation and growth. Ways to conserve, I believe, is to improve our current lake storages by dredging them deeper for more storage and less loss of water to evaporation. Now, I think a lot of our water is lost to evaporation because we have shallow reservoirs with a wide surface area. So the larger the surface area, the more evaporation is going to take place. Same way with our water ditches. We have a lot of water lost through the absorption of the soil as well as evaporation. And I think pipelines in place of many of these water ditches is going to resolve a lot of that loss. We have ways to conserve, I believe, on residences, and that is to set up a gray water usage by residents to do irrigation of their fields or their gardens. I think that if we should have a sliding scale so that water hogs have to pay the bill for their misuse of the water. TUD must grow. It needs to meet future demands of water, especially as the weather climate produces less snowpack and rainfall in the future. One way is to build, in conjunction with PG&E, more deep lake storage of water at the higher elevations to cut down on evaporation loss and generate more electric power. We must encourage consumers with incentives to use wells on their properties where practical. Funding TUD expansion.
Thank you, Michael Cummings. And as soon as the timer is ready, Jerry Morrow, closing statement.
I want to thank the Chamber for giving us the opportunity to be here tonight. And like I say, I'm a 27-year resident of Tuolumne County. And the reason that I really got involved, I didn't think that I would be running for this board, but when we all decided to go ahead and conserve, we put our buckets in our showers and we let our lawns go dry. And, we conserved, everybody did. It was a benefit to all of us and for our county. But then when they decided to go ahead and $1 million short that everybody decided to conserve, and then they want to go ahead and sell our water to PG&E. And I think that was really a slap in the face to every customer that decided to conserve. But another thing, I think our water issues is one of our big problems here. I always thought, we needed more capacity, And when we look at Sierra Pines, that we're going to get about 350 acre-feet of water down the road. We have Phoenix Lake. It needs to be dredged. That Phoenix Lake is a property that is really in bad shape. Possibly we'll get grant for that, and that'll happen. But at any rate, I hope that you vote for me. I'm the only one that's been on a water board for 3.5 years, and we had a lot of problems just like TUD is having today. So I feel that you need some leadership, and I thank you very much, and thank you again.
Thank you, Jerry. And as soon as the timer is ready, David Evans.
Yes, again, I'd like to thank the Chamber for having this forum. I would like to first say that I would like to recognize the impact of large-scale water increases have on business. Plans to hire may be impacted. Major water rate increases may also affect expansion. Thus, I wish to make 3 comments to the TUD business community. As your representative, I will not vote for large-scale water rate increases. As your representative, I require and demand timely, full disclosure of financial information. Therefore, businesses will have a better public view of the direction of TUD efforts. 3, as your representative, I will be honest and tell you that I will be forced to vote for some increase in water rates. This effort may be necessary in order to help stabilize the water fund. Finally, I feel some disclosures are in order. In the past, there were claims of conflict of interest regarding certain board members. Therefore, I wish to state the following. I or any family member do not have any financial investment or business interest with a contractor, a builder, or anyone that supplies to the same. I am not affiliated or connected with any proposed or ongoing building project. I wish to further state that I or any family member do not have any business interest or financial investment in the following: water testing, water treatment, well drilling, or anyone that provides supplies to the same. Thank you again.
Thank you, Jerry. And Ron Koff.
Okay. Hi. I'm running for the TUD board because developing an adequate and sustainable water supply for Tuolumne County residents, businesses, and our working landscape is critical. A large part of our economy is based on tourism and agriculture, and these were 2 of the hardest hit areas in our last drought situation. Our climate is getting warmer, and we are in a prolonged drought cycle. With decreased snowpack, TUD needs a long-term plan to diversify our storage operations. 2 of the things that we're working on right now with the Sierra Pines Golf Course and the friendly condemnation through PG&E and dredging out Phoenix are 2 of the most important projects that we need to move forward with right now. But we also need to keep working on the long list of items. There is no one item that's going to solve all of our water issues. We need to keep looking at the many programs that are on there. As Tom Shaza pointed out, it's not really a silver bullet, it's more of a silver buckshot. The other critical thing coming up is the general manager of TUD is going to be replaced, and Tom is going to be retiring probably in May or June of next year. Hiring the right person for that position is going to be critical for going forward with TUD and the county over the next several years. We also need to have a lot stronger cooperative attitude with the county and other water agencies as we go forward and look at other water sources and government funding sources that are out there. TUD can't do it on their own. The county can't do it on their own. The county used to do it. They abdicated it to TUD, and that can't happen anymore. We need to work together. The county putting together the water policy committee is a step in the right direction. TUD reaching out and getting more public input is a step in the right direction. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be expensive. We need to go after as many funding sources as we can. With our rural county, we can make sure that we can get some of these funding sources, but it's going to take a lot of work to get there. I'd appreciate your vote on November 4th.
Thank you. And your TUD 2-year candidates are Michael Cummings, general contractor, Jerry Morrow, retired sales, David Evans, retired businessman, and Ronald Koff, Tuolumne County Business Council Executive Director. Thank you very much. And with that, for our radio audience, you're listening to the Tuolumne County Chamber of Commerce Candidates Night. We're going to take a 3-minute break and return here on the Motherlode News Station AM 1450 KVML. Thank you. We have all